Stand-up comic Kunal Kamra in the eye of a political storm. The reason? A satire on Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. For calling Eknath Shinde a traitor, for calling him an auto driver, for basing a song on him. The joke led to Shiv Senics go on a rampage, vandalizing the Habitat studio, venue of the event. Kamra called an urban Naxal.
त्याला अर्बन नक्षल म्हणा, लेफ्ट लिबरल म्हणा, हे सारखेच आहेत की ज्यांचा उद्देश एकच आहे की समाजातल्या मानकांना अपमानित करणं, देशातल्या संस्थांना अपमानित करणं.
कुणाल कामरा ने मुझे नहीं लगता कुछ गलत कहा है. गद्दारों को गद्दार करना ये किसी पर हमला करने की बात नहीं है. जो गद्दार है वो गद्दार है.
आप बीएमसी की तरफ से? हाँ. तो हथौड़ा लेके अंदर जा रहे हैं.
The BMC at Habitat venue.
You can see this entire hotel, the glass sheets were broken, the reception was vandalized, and they went inside and ransacked the entire place. The police has been deployed right outside since then.
The controversy has reignited the debate over free speech and intolerance.
मोदी साहेबांनी हे पण म्हटलंय की क्रिटिसिझम इज एन इसेन्शियल पार्ट ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी. आणि मग त्यांचे मित्रपक्ष असे वागतात. पण चला हे एक मिनिट बाजूला ठेवलं तरी नक्की का एकनाथ शिंदेच्या गँगला राग आला आहे हा माझा प्रश्न आहे.
There is already an FIR against Kunal Kamra, and the Mahayuti government has now launched a full probe. A probe, an FIR, vandalism, violence, BMC action, all over a joke. Freedom of expression, a joke in India. Top focus on To The Point this evening. All right, so the question is, this really hasn't happened just under the watch of the current Shiv Sena. When it comes down to Maharashtra, we've even seen very thin skin when it comes down to tolerance, especially where freedom of speech is concerned. If it doesn't suit you, we've seen the wrath of the incumbent government. It had happened in the time of Uddhav Thackeray as well. Giving you some examples, December 2019, a man was assaulted in Vadala for calling Uddhav Thackeray bald in a Facebook post. August 2020, now this was a big case where a Navi Mumbai resident, Sunena, was arrested for posting offensive remarks against Uddhav and Aditya Thackeray. September 2020, illegal structures at Kangana Ranaut office demolished after her criticism of state government and police handling. September 2020, a retired naval officer was beaten up over forwarding a cartoon of Uddhav Thackeray on WhatsApp. Then February 2021, BJP workers beaten up, ink thrown on them, made to wear a sari by Sena workers for remarks against Uddhav Thackeray. August 2021, Union Minister Narayan Rane arrested over his comments on slapping Uddhav Thackeray. January 2022, Maharashtra BJP IT cell members booked for objectionable comments made against Rashmi Thackeray, Uddhav Thackeray's wife. April 2022, Navneet and Ravi Rana arrested after announcing they will chant Hanuman Chalisa in front of Matoshri. All of that at a time when now you have the Uddhav Sena come out very strongly in support of Kunal Kamra. However, in midst of all of this, one has to put it in perspective that why is it that Kunal Kamra today is facing the kind of action that he is, just where freedom of speech is concerned? Is it defamation at all? Because now you have the Maharashtra government which says that they are going to go to court and sue him for defamation. Did what Kunal Kamra say liable for defamation? I want to bring in my colleague Nalini, who's joining us with the very latest on that. Nalini, with what Kunal Kamra said, is that defamation?
Well, Preeti, that is ultimately for the courts to judge, but there are certain elements that have to be met for any statement to be considered a defamatory statement. There are about 4 to 5, but we'll focus on 2 main statements that are relevant in this present case. Number one, for it to be defamation, what Kunal Kamra has said has to be false, which means that it cannot be the truth. any truth is a defense to a case against defamation. So saying or shouting or publishing anything that is true will not amount to defamation. So the main thing that the court will have to look into is whether the statement that Eknath Shinde is a traitor, whether that's a false statement or a true statement, on which it will be determined whether or not it's defamation. Another very important element that has to be met is that there has to be some loss of reputation faced by Eknath Shinde in the case for it to be a successful defamation. That means that because of the statement made by Kunal Kamra, there has to be some sort of loss, whether it be monetary, whether it be financial, whether it just be a loss of reputation that Eknath Shinde has to face, and not just face but also prove before the court of law for it to be counted as defamation. Only when both of these things are proven before a court of law will it be considered to be a defamatory statement. Until then, Kunal Kamra can always take the defense that in his opinion it was a true statement, and truth, like I told you earlier, is always a defense for any defamatory statement.
All right, so in terms of Kunal Kamra, I would think one thing that he said is calling Eknath Shinde a traitor, a gaddar. Now that's open to how it is perceived in court. Was it defamatory or not? Nalini, appreciate you joining us with that. But viewers, the fact is, if Kunal Kamra today is going to be charged with defamation, if he's going to, there's an FIR against him, if the place where he held his event has been completely vandalized, you have the BMC there. If all of that, the kind of action is taking place against him on the reason why, because he called Eknath Shinde a traitor. It's happened before, and it's happened by nobody else but Ajit Pawar, who's now an ally of Eknath Shinde, where he said, when people hear the sirens, they say, look, 50 crore person and a gaddar. 50 crore, he meant 50 crore ka khoka, and gaddar, traitor, is going. Now, you had Ajit Pawar say this in 2020. But clearly, if you're a politician, you can get away with a lot. But on the other hand, if you make jokes, then you really cannot. With that, the big questions we're asking this evening. All right, so the big questions that I asked this evening: freedom of expression in India has become a joke. Free speech, subjective, not absolute. Has Kunal Kamra today been penalized for his anti-government politics or his past political positions that he has taken? Free speech always collateral in Indian politics, irrespective of which political party is at the helm of affairs. Let's take these questions to our big face-off this evening. Joining me, Atul Londe Patil, spokesperson Congress, Susi Ben Shah, spokesperson Shiv Sena. I want to begin with you, Ms. Shah. What is it that Kunal Kamra did to warrant the kind of violence and the kind of action, or even to be called an urban Naxal?
Now, I'll tell you this. A very good evening to all, and it's always a pleasure to be on a show, Preeti. A very good evening to my dear friend, Mr. Atul Bhai also. I would just like to tell this. Let us understand that we are very proud to be a free state. But as Supreme Court rightly said, that it cannot be without reasonable restrictions and it cannot be absolute. There has to be some moral responsibility. Now, pausing here for a minute, who is Mr. Kunal Kamra? Here is a comedian who garbs himself as a comedian, but makes remarks which are elitist, which are vulgar and highly motivated. Here is a man who was banned by most of the airlines for making statements against Arvind Goswami, kind of a face-off in an airline. So that is Kunal Kamra for you. Here is a man who take immense pleasure while the Kanaga Ronath's house was broken. He was discussing over debate. Cheap comments were made about her with Mr. Sanjay Raut, I believe. Do you mean to say that he's a comedian? Not at all. He was there as a stooge of a political party of UBT who has no standing, no position electorally, or have failed in the people's court. So here he is using this man as a comedian to sell their comedian. And number one. Lastly.
But Ms. Shah, allow me, I rarely ever do it, but allow me an interjection. Here is also a man who's an Indian citizen. Let's say even if he's a political stooge, today is he paying the price of his politics or his political stand in the past? Because number two, you quote the Supreme Court, and we'll put out graphics. We'll also quote the Supreme Court on it where it comes down to freedom of expression, Susi Ben Shah. Today, even if you're looking at defamation, You can't even sue him for defamation because technically he said nothing wrong. What he said yesterday at the back of the vandalism that we saw, the comments that he made were not entirely not correct. What did he say? He called the Deputy Chief Minister an auto rickshaw wala. He called him a traitor. Now, emotions can be hurt where your party is concerned, but should it and can it actually lead to the violence we saw?
No. As far as the violence is concerned, FIR is booked. The court will, the law will take its own course. FIR has been filed, right? Number one. Number two, as far as Gaddar is concerned, now you tell me, the matter is in the Supreme Court as far as Shiv Sena is concerned. Gaddar, we have proved time and again in elections after election that who's the Gaddar and who's a Kaddavar Neta. The problem here is, Preeti, that they cannot digest that. They cannot digest that they have failed. They have failed to propagate the ideology of Vandaniya Hindu Samrat Balasaheb Thackeray. And that is the reason they are resorting to cheap tactics. One more thing I would like to say. Mr. Aditya Thackeray. Who is Mr. Aditya Thackeray? Oh, bichara Thakkar ne, Samir Thakkar. He called him a penguin or a bird. For 32 days, he was in the jail. That Ketki Chitale, she wrote something about Sharad Pawar. She also was put in jail.
You're very right. You're very right. Because it does seem freedom of expression is selective and you're doing exactly what your predecessors did. And I'll come back to the larger question of the Shiv Sena. Ma'am, allow me to bring in, the next panelist into this because, with whatever you might have said, whatever, does it warrant the kind of backlash that Kunal Kamra saw? It's very simple, very simply put. Atul Londe, the question is, today you're sitting and espousing values of free speech, but when your own government is in power, I can give you an entire list. You guys did exactly the same of what you accuse the Shiv Sena of today.
See, Preeti, we have never supported violence in a public discourse. We have never supported any kind of vandalism as of now. You might quote many examples, but I can quote you thousands and thousands of examples of last 70 years how my leaders like Sonia ji, Rahul ji, Indira ji, Rajiv ji have been abused by these people. Even I can't say vulgar language. They have abused them. They have abused of their origin. Then I can also quote example of Muntashir Shukla. What his name is, Muntashir Shukla. What he said about Sonia ji? Was it a good sense of public discourse? Was it a good public discourse? What these people have said about Dr. Manmohan Singh ji is the most gracious person, the most gracious lady politician in the country ever produced is Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. But how badly she was abused, how badly Rahul ji has been abused after 2014. You can see they are getting as they sow, as they reap. जो उन्होंने बोया है वो पा रहे हैं. And the public discourse in Maharashtra, especially in Mumbai, like this AIB, All India, I can't pronounce that. The B, what B stands for, AIB, and that some other fellow who talked about the parents, and right now, what Kunal Kamra has said, the same thing has been said by Ajit Pawar also. So if you start booking the people, if you start booking people from literature background, people, the poet and the stand-up comedian, then it will go on for nothing. Because you don't want to do any constructive debate in public discourse. There is no discussion in parliament. There is no discussion in assembly. Only what we are discussing violence, we are discussing communalism, and we are discussing what some other poet has said about you. And okay. If you are not in agreement with what Mr. Kunal Kamra has said about you, did that give you a right to vandalize the studio? Power tumhara, police is yours. You are sitting on a post, a constitutional post, and you are yourself breaking the law. The other day, some other lady, a spokesperson, was with me on a regional channel. She was openly claiming, "Hum to karenge, hum phod dalenge, hum tod dalenge."
Okay.
Shiv Sena hai.
Let me go back.
What does it mean? You are in power. Does it give you every right?
All right. Let me go back to Misha. Misha, what you said earlier was that they cannot digest the fact that you are in power. The larger question, Misha, is that you can't digest criticism. Basic. Most leaders would laugh and move on. What today the Shiv Sena has proven is that you are exactly the same what you were, whether it was under Balasaheb Thackeray or Uddhav Thackeray, where people constantly reinstate that Shiv Sena at a time will somewhere down the line resort to hooliganism. You've only proven that point.
We are extremely proud to be Balasaheb Thackeray's Shiv Sena. Let it be heard loud and clear, Preeti, in your show to Maharashtra and to India. But yes, what happened today, the vandalism that happened, you are well aware of what Devendra Fadnavis ji said. You are well aware of what our Eknath Shinde ji said. Law will take its own course, whether it be Nagpur, whether it be in this Habitat studio that you are saying. But I'll tell you this.
But how is law taking its own course when bulldozers are rolling in Nagpur, where there is already a court order? Number two, freedom of expression, madam, whichever way you might want to look at it, is absolute. It cannot be subjective.
No. What did Jawaharlal Nehru add? It was an amendment to free speech. Are you not aware? The decency was added. Morality was added. So therefore, freedom of speech cannot be at someone else's expense, hurting them.
Then by that account, Mr. Ajit Pawar should also be in jail because he did call Eknath Shinde a traitor.
Where is the question of we have not put anyone in jail? Where is the question of putting anyone in jail?
So you agree with the vandalism? Ms. Shah, do you agree with the vandalism?
We are not a banana republic. The police report will come. The matter will be definitely investigated. It happened last night. It is less than 24 hours. Allow us to perform.
Misha, I just want to ask you one very basic question. As I bring in, Atul Londe Patil into this conversation, is there regret that violence was resorted to, vandalism was resorted to? Is there regret? Will you express regret? It should not have happened.
No, it is not a question of being regret. You have to, when you come up with such statements, you have to face...
If you exercise freedom of speech in Maharashtra, Misha, you're saying you need to be open.
Preeti, allow me to complete.
Ma'am, please complete.
No, so that's what. You are interjecting. So I cannot complete my sentence. What I'm trying to say, if you erect the people, if you make statements which are irresponsible and motivated, you have to face the ire of the people. You can't run away from Jan Bhavana.
Ma'am, are you then sitting here, Misha, are you sitting here justifying the violence, the vandalism that took place? No, you can either condemn violence or you can justify it. There is no in-betweens, madam.
No, Preeti, violence should be condemned. And yes, therefore, FIR has been filed. But to say that Kunal Kamra can get away by saying whatever he wants, वो चलेगा नहीं महाराष्ट्र में.
Ma'am, sue him in a court of law. Sue him for defamation if defamation stands.
I can't hear you.
Sue him for defamation if defamation stands in a court of law. What you are saying, it's partially veiled threat.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Your voice was cracking. Can you come again?
Ma'am, what you just stated is a partially veiled threat. Sue him in a court of law, but to suggest that if you say anything which doesn't go well with a particular lot, then be prepared to handle the wrath. That is what you're saying.
If you want to be a comedian, if you've erred, have a large heart and say sorry. There is no threat in that. If you've done a mistake, say sorry. You cannot at the expense of a tall leader.
Who decides what's a mistake and what's not a mistake? 1 second. Who decides what's a mistake and what's not a mistake? Let me once again come in and bring in Mr. Patil into this conversation. Freedom of expression in this country, though it's the biggest collateral where it comes down to politicians, ma'am, is absolute. It cannot be subjective. I just want to bring in Atul Londe Patil back into this conversation. Mr. Patil, do you somewhere down the line realize that all of this is also you're paying the price of each political outfit exercising their will and interpreting freedom of expression as an inner witch that they have chosen, which includes many of your allies or you yourself sometimes.
See, no one can be allowed to do so. You and I can't become a judge. Even a Home Minister of Maharashtra can't act like a judge. He is acting nowadays. He is directly stating कि मैं देख लूँगा, मैं कर लूँगा, छोड़ूंगा नहीं. This is not a language of Home Minister. He should behave decently if he is expecting decency from others. What is the tradition of this country after 1947, and what was the value of freedom of speech and expression in this country was like? Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru brought Mr. Dinkar, the Rashtra Kavi of this country. Dinkar Namdhari Dinkar into Rajya Sabha, and he criticized Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru ji very badly. And if you want to hear what were the words of Namdhari Dinkar, I'll quote it for you. देखने में देवता सदृश लगता है, बंद कमरे में बैठकर गलत हुक्म लिखता है. जिस पापी को गुण नहीं गोत्र प्यारा है, समझो उसी ने हमें मारा है. He called papi. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru did not put him in a jail. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru did not send ED, income tax and CBI at his home. Instead, he took it positively. He died of that shock. What we suffer in 1962 war. But we never compromised constitutional values. We have never supported even during Mahavikas Aghadi, some incidences were happened. That time Sushi Ben was with us, and she has brought up in a Congress culture. We know that she also follows constitutional values very well.
But come to you, allow him.
Sushi Ben, don't get angry. We have spent good time together in same party.
You continue with the wrong side of the conversation.
You were my Didi and you will still remain my Didi. So I will not use any bad words for you. You have a great place in my heart. I have great regards for you. But
thank you.
Truth is truth. Indirectly, she also get into the Shiv Sena culture so quickly. She spent entire life in Congress. But within 2.5 years,
they are not hypocrites.
I am not saying you are hypocrite. I am saying you got yourself converted.
You are hypocrite, not us.
I am not hypocrite.
You are
I'm still with my party. I'm still following the values of my party. And I still believe in constitutional values. And I behave accordingly. I behave accordingly.
Okay.
Pura Maharashtra knows who went to which party for the sake of post and constitutional position.
I want to go back to Ms. Shah. Ms. Shah, the question, Ms. Shah, the fact is...
But Preeti, let me clear you very, it's crystal clear. We don't believe in vandalism. We don't believe in hooliganism, and we can't support it. Even if our alliance partner is doing, we have condemned it. We have condemned it in past also, and we are condemning right now, today also.
Okay.
But Sushi Ben is not condemning.
Okay, I want to ask Sushi Ben that question. Ma'am, you're a feisty, great spokesperson. You're always very reasonable. Now to come in on the channel and represent your party and say that if you say something, then be prepared for action. That's a threat.
I also said in the same breath, say sorry if you've erred. Number one. Number two. Now, my dear friend.
You also are adding, Ms. Shah, you also are adding to it that apologize, I am your friend, I have a place in your heart. So allow me to complete. So what I said is that Jawaharlal Nehru...
That does not allow you to say anything what you
want. The first amendment to the Constitution for the freedom of speech way back in 1951 was made by Jawaharlal Nehru. Now what are we talking? It cannot be absolute.
Let me tell you, it was about what?
Ma'am, Mr. Londe, allow her to finish. Allow her to finish. Ms. Shah, make your point.
So therefore, it has to be freedom of speech can never be absolute. There has to be Supreme Court says so. Jawaharlal Nehru said...
Ma'am, you're quoting... Ms. Shah, I'm sorry, I'm coming in again and I never do it. But I will do it because it's for the sake of freedom of expression. And the reason I'm doing it is you're quoting what Jawaharlal Nehru said in the amendment to FO, freedom of expression. Can I tell you, ma'am, umbrage can only be taken as per that if what you have said incites violence. Where did what Kunal Kamra said, the maximum he called the Deputy Chief Minister was a traitor? How does it incite violence, ma'am?
No, hold on. You see, this Gaddar Bab and this something else that he said, Dadi, it's belittling. And that is what incites violence. Gaddar, Khokhe, Bol ke they lost 2 elections. They lost their mandate. So therefore, the kind of statement Mr. Kamra said incited violence. Now I'll tell you one more thing. Lastly, we have gone to the People's Court. They have established that we are the Shiv Sena. We are the pole bearers of ideology of in the Hindu Hriday Samrat Bala Saheb Thackeray. Again and again to keep on saying the same thing. And Aditya Thackeray, bhaiya kya ba usko penguin bola to 32 days that poor
fair point. You're making all fair points. But the fact is, ma'am, if you're also powerful, then why such a thin skin?
They have no moral standing to tell us anything.
I have come to the end of the show. I need to end this debate, but why such a thin skin, ma'am? That's the point. Why is the thin so skin where our politicians are concerned? Learn to take a joke, laugh about it.
Spreading falsehood. That's what we are against. Spreading falsehood.
But, you know, that's subjective. That is subjective. Okay, Mr. Londe, 10 seconds. 10 seconds each. Mr. Londe, go ahead.
She doesn't know about the First Amendment. First Amendment was about Supreme Court and judiciary. Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar said about the First Amendment that Supreme Court judiciary is not a holy cow. It can also
okay, ma'am, let me give her 10 seconds.
If it makes a wrong
okay, 10 seconds. Okay, Ms. Shah, because I gave him 10 seconds, I give you 10 seconds. Can I just get Ms. Shah? Please reply to that.
These are the two words which have become a very famous, which have become a word for everyone. ये जब शादियों में जाते हैं,
can I just get Ms. Shah?
50 खोके एकदम ओके.
Ms. Shah, make your point. I'll give you 10 seconds. Make your point.
See, the point here is that again and again to sell that send coke and gaddar, it enrages people. It enrages people of Maharashtra,
and that gives them the license to go and beat and vandalize, resort to violence.
What happened to Badlapur? Badlapur में कौन थे भैया?
Ma'am, you know, anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it.
Mr. Londe never said it was wrong. He was also there at the police station.
Allow me to leave it at that. I leave it at that. The fact is, viewers, today we are in a place where somebody has made a joke, and freedom of expression in the country is turning out to be a joke. Thank you for joining us. All right, so joining me on the show now is Priyanka Chaturvedi, Rajya Sabha MP. Ms. Chaturvedi, the fact is, with what went down with Kunal Kamra, at one end, of course, there is this conversation that one needs to have, should have, where it comes down to freedom of expression and free speech. On the other account, it seems the Shiv Sena, Uddhav's Shiv Sena, the Uddhav Sena has thrown its weight completely behind Kunal Kamra. Because right from all your spokespersons, from Uddhav Thackeray, Aditya Thackeray, Sanjay Raut, now are going to various ends to back what Kunal Kamra said. Many would suggest politicizing the situation.
I think what is happening in the state of Maharashtra is they are creating a whole lot of distractions. The state government is taking law and order in their own hands and resorting to this kind of violence to try and silence any voices of criticism. It's extremely unfortunate. And after the vandalism, we are now seeing the BMC come and bulldoze the structure. Let's not forget that structure did not belong to Kunal Kamra. It is just a hub for stand-up comedians to come and perform there and for audience to have a good time. For government to come down heavily and break down someone's economic activity is extremely shameful, and just because he was speaking again, he was making some comments which were not palpable to the government of the day, to one individual.
You know, Ms. Chaturvedi, the fact is that you are coming out under Shiv Sena as champions of freedom of expression, freedom of speech, which is great. But many would say it's a tad rich because your own government in the past has been responsible for not one, but many such incidents.
Now, if you can share with me any instance where the political party people have gone and broken down someone's economic activity or structure while we were in power, if you can share that instance. Yes, the BMC had gone after serving several notices to a particular actress who's now a member of parliament to her house, and that was tried in the court of law and there was a verdict. I want to know if my political party or any other political party, NCP or Congress, entered someone's business activity or someone's home and behaved like goons.
Okay, but
so this whataboutery needs to really stop. Let's also not forget.
All right. Okay, but you know, Ms. Chaturvedi, let me recall for you. You say, you know, you yourself have recalled that one incident where Kangana Ranaut was concerned, where the BMC came to her office and tore it down at the back of what she had said. Let me name you a few others because, you know, we are playing their entire list there. What about, ma'am? Because it was debate at prime time where a former naval officer was beaten up for sharing a joke on Mr. Uddhav Thackeray on WhatsApp, beaten up by Shiv Senics at that point of time. Of course, the original Shiv Sena governed by Uddhav Thackeray. What about Mr. Ansari, who was Saad Ansari, arrested on pledging support to Nupur Sharma, Ketki Chitlekar? There are a number of examples, replete, like I'm saying, not one.
No, one second. I'm justifying nothing here, please. All I'm saying is the law and order. What did we do? we went to the police and we said file an FIR, right? Did we take law and order in our own hands?
Yes.
And go beat up, kill an entire economic activity?
Yes.
So again, you know, Preeti, here's the thing. Okay, allow. Yes. Now let me complete. I'm not going to run away from answering any of the questions that you're throwing at me. Firstly, let's not forget, right from the media to social media to the Bharatiya Janata Party to the Shinde Senics, everyone had spoken up about it. Everyone condemned it. It became the prime time debate, right? And whatever was wrong was condemned. Now, in this case, you have come at the back of a mandate promising you will undo everything that the earlier government was doing. And by trying and saying, oh, what about this, what about this, if we continue to say this, now when we come to power and we continue to talk about whataboutery, then it's unfortunate. What is wrong is wrong. No. There has been an incident of vandalization and BMC has now gone there and shut down that economic activity altogether. So space which was created for content creators to come, use it, create their content, entertain the audience is now no longer in existence in Mumbai because one man's ego was hurt. And again, now in this particular case, I want to ask you, in this Kunal Kamra case, has he used any abusive language? Has he used any vulgar comments? Has he created public disorder? Has he led to defamation? Okay. None of it. None of these freedom of speech restrictions apply in the case of Kunal Kamra. He was just rewording a song, a popular tune, to say something where, and let's not forget, these are facts. Eknath Shinde was a part of the key team of Shri Uddhavji. Without having a discussion with him, he runs away to Surat. From there, he goes to Guwahati.
But
at the instance of who? Devendra Fadnavis and the Bharatiya Janata Party. Who does he backstab? He backstabs his own party leader, Shri Uddhav Thackeray, and Supreme Court is on record. Whatever he has sung out yesterday in his podcast is on record, which Supreme Court also called unconstitutional.
I'm talking...
And party name and symbol is something that we are still fighting in the court of law. So what Kunal Kamra has said, which is not palpable and goes against someone's freedom of speech.
You talk... Okay, no, Ms. Chaturvedi, you speak of...
their right of freedom of
you
speech.
speak of Kunal Kamra didn't do anything, while what did the former naval officer do? He just shared a joke on WhatsApp. He was brutally beaten up by Sena goons at that point of time. So do you somewhere down the line agree parties have to rise above personal vendetta?
Again, multiple examples that you have given are again things. One, BMC is an authorized body. No vandalization happened in Kangana case. You gave me 3 instances. One instance I agree. There were emotions overran the political party people and they did what they did. But in this particular case, you have gone and vandalized, then you've sent the might of BMC. And similarly, we've seen in Nagpur. Here, one person is offended. In the other case in Nagpur, one sitting minister instigates violence. So within a span of 2-3 months, we've seen overbearing interference of the state government because one or the other person is feeling unhappy about a situation or feeling insulted or humiliated.
All right, Ms. Chaturvedi, at least, somewhere down the line, there's acceptance that you did it in your term, and now that it's happening in Eknath Shinde's term, you want to criticize it, but let's just remember, and we hope that it, you remember that in times to come. We're going to leave it at that. Thank you for joining us, Priyanka Chaturvedi. Now, after the Karnataka Assembly passed the 4% minority quota bill in the Assembly, ruckus erupted back in the Parliament. An all-out fight between JP Nadda, Kharge in Parliament as well as Kiran Rijiju. Mr. Nadda accused the Congress of stealing OBC quota for minorities. He also claimed that Congress is granting backdoor entry to Muslims. The BJP vowed to block any religious-based quota, alleging that Congress is attempting to undermine the constitution with anti-Ambedkar policies. Congress chief and leader of opposition, Mallikarjun Kharge, meanwhile defended what DK Shiv Kumar said, that he never wanted to change the constitution because this was also a bone of contention in Parliament. He claimed that the idea of altering the Samvidhan came from the other side of the house. The face-off erupted when Karnataka Deputy CM DK Shiv Kumar had stated that constitution can be changed to accommodate 4% minority quota for contractors. Later, you had the Deputy CM of Karnataka downplaying his remarks, claiming that his statement was misquoted. He emphasized that the Congress gave the constitution to the country and would never change it.
डिप्टी चीफ मिनिस्टर ने स्टेटमेंट दिया है हाउस में कि जरूरत पड़ेगी तो हम संविधान को भी बदलेंगे. दिस इज अ वेरी सीरियस मैटर. और ये लोग बड़े संविधान के रक्षक बनते हैं और ये लोग संविधान की रक्षा करने की बात सारे देश को बताते हैं, ढोल पीटते हैं, वो संविधान की धज्जियां उड़ाते हैं. ये इसके लिए हम रोज करते हैं. But what do you want? What do you want? I want that such laws and rules should be withdrawn and discussion should take place, and Congress party president and the leader of the opposition should answer this question.
On the basis of the backward class, what is in my state, on that basis, my government has taken a call. I said that let us see, let us wait for the court. In so many cases, on so many states, it may be Maharashtra, it may be Haryana, or many states on this type of reservation, people have gone to the court and courts have given various judgments. That is why I said after various judgments, the constitutions will have to have changed earlier.
All right, before we get to a political face-off, just a short while ago, Jairam Ramesh from the Congress has tweeted out suggesting that there is an attempt to spread misinformation at the back of what the Karnataka government has posed as the minority quota. Number one, he says very clearly that this is not a Muslim quota. It is minorities which are covering other faiths as well. And then he, of course, details on how the BJP, which the Congress claims is spreading misinformation. Let's cut across to our political face-off this evening. Syed Zafar Islam, National Spokesperson BJP, Deepak Themaiya, Spokesperson Congress. I want to begin with Syed Zafar Islam. Syed Zafar Islam, today accused of two things. It's unprecedented what happened in Parliament, where you had members of the Treasury bench disrupt Parliament on this account, which was unprecedented, never has happened in the Rajya Sabha. Number two, Syed Zafar Islam, which a charge that has been raised is you want to spread disaffection by stating this is a Muslim quota, while the Congress suggests very clearly that this is nothing but misinformation.
Well, it is only Congress to be blamed. All along, they have played a policy of appeasement, even though they have done nothing for the Muslim community. Now they feel the pinch because Muslim community is somehow going away from them, and they are started supporting other political parties. They always used to feel that Muslim is their vote bank, and now the Muslim has deserted them, so they are under pressure. That's why this kind of a statement they are making, and this is kind of efforts they are making, where they are even going beyond their own reach, that they can change the constitution, even though they understand that reservation based on religion is not possible. Constitution, they have no rights to make this, even this kind of statement that they will change the constitution, because they know they cannot change it. But just to get attention from the Muslim community, they put Muslim community in the dock, and they feel that they will be benefited because they will use their vote and use them as a vote bank. It's something will work for them. But I must tell you, Preeti ji, that is absolutely unconstitutional efforts which is being put in by the Congress party. No reservation can be given, and Muslim community knows about it. But still, they are misleading.
But Syed Zafar Islam, as I bring in the Congress spokesperson, the question I want to ask you is again, why are we stressing on the Muslim community? Because this is not about Muslims, it's about minorities, the 4% quota. Why is there a conscious attempt by the BJP to push this as Muslim quota when it's not Muslim quota?
See, he went to that extent when he stated that even the constitution, if required, can be changed. If he is willing to change the constitution to appease the community, even though they know that they cannot change the constitution, they cannot give reservation based on the religion, but they want to mislead the Muslim community. We are not.
But Mr. Islam, I'll ask you this question again as I bring in the Congress spokesperson. You are stressing on Muslims, but the question is, it's not just about Muslims. Muslims will be part of other faiths in the 4% quota. Why are we stressing on the Muslim part of it? It's for the other faiths as well.
No, this clarification has come later. Right now you are showing this tweet from Jairam Ramesh, All along, they should have come out, said that reservation is based on such and such thing.
Okay.
But the way they have spoken that
Okay, let me bring in Deepak Thimaiya. Deepak Thimaiya, the BJP spokesperson says this was an afterthought, that you always wanted to appease a particular community and it was a backdoor entry of the Muslims into quotas.
Respected anchor, I'm sure that as a journalist, you know that we can't be speaking against any community in this country because they are part and parcel of this society, and they're also bound and protected by the Constitution. And Constitution also is nobody's property. It is the sacrosanct overseeing power in this country, which is bigger than the Prime Minister, the Parliament, the governments, everything. So if we are allowing people like Mr. Islam to be speaking about Muslim, Hindu and other communities, I think we are doing a great disservice to the Constitution. And let me tell you very clearly, it's a very simple question that I would like to ask them. If Congress is pro-Muslims, as they always paint us to be, why can't they just declare themselves as anti-Muslims? It makes the job very easy for them. Why do they have to pretend like they are seeming to be talking good about Muslims? For instance, Mr. Islam is talking about misleading the Muslim community. But let me tell you, you are a journalist. I've been a journalist. Let me see into this point very clearly, because no Muslim is so naive to believe that, the Congress party can take them for a ride forever. If at all that is what you're trying to, allege, because no Muslim can be, maybe that most Muslims may not have even got the kind of education that the other communities may have also got. But to say that they can be taken for a ride, they are going to very blindly vote for Congress, they can be given some wrong information and they're going to believe in something, is such an insult to the community. And I don't think that we should even discuss these things, because I don't see a Muslim any different from a Hindu at all. But if a Muslim, populace, particularly a section, they need support from the government. And if they can do better, if they can come into the mainstream with economic empowerment, all that we are talking about, this 4% is 4% in government contracts, because this 4% reservation has been there for a long time. What these people passed is 4% in government contracts, because otherwise maybe they may get excluded and they may just remain marginalized. So people like Mr. Islam can continue to vilify
But Mr. Thimaiya, so number one, what you're making we understood what you said. But is there a clear distinction that this is not just for Muslims? Because that 4% quota will, number one, contain other faiths as well. Number two, on the basis of what your Deputy Chief Minister Karnataka says, that they will be looking at changing the constitution. Now, that is a red line, especially coming from the Congress. You fought an election on that.
I'm sure that he can't say that too, with all due respect to you, because, he's a congressman, and to even assume that he has spoken. See, we keep making faux pas, there could be slip of the tongue or, so many other mistakes that can happen because you're speaking as a leader to so many people from morning to evening. And you yourself know, if at all you look at his calendar, that he's been busy throughout every hour of the week. And I'm sure that it must have been just a mistake, because in his mind, in his heart, in his intelligence, he knows that he can't even be speaking something like that, right? I mean, it's common sense. Like I could be addressing you as some other channel. So it doesn't make you a different channel. It's just
sometimes, Mr. Thimaiya, sometimes what I say, when a slip of tongue can cost one very heavily when it comes down to politics.
Okay, but with the media just waiting for such slips of tongue.
Nobody's waiting for it. Mr. Thimaiya, it's you can come here and take on the media. This is not media created. It is something what Mr. D.K. Shiv Kumar said. Therefore, what happened in Parliament.
Okay, that's all. Won't you make a mistake at all?
Nobody said, I'm not a politician, sir, and it's not about you and I.
So we have the bigger responsibility. The politicians can be voted out. Some of us stay on for 30 years, 40 years.
But that's an academic debate you can get into. But at the back of what's really happened, I want to bring back Syed Zafar Islam. Syed Zafar Islam, two questions. Number one, what happened in Parliament is unprecedented. You wanted to take what the Deputy Chief Minister say, make it a big issue. It's never quite happened that we've seen the kind of attack coming in from the Treasury benches in Rajya Sabha. And you would know that, sir. You've been a member of Rajya Sabha.
Well, you have to understand, Rajya Sabha, or for that matter, both the houses were always disrupted by Congress party, because they do not want to let the government run the parliament and do business. But most importantly, you have to understand that today was a very important issue which needs to be addressed, because they were attempting to again bring back Muslim in the center and being criticized by all.
But Mr. Islam, again, it's not about, it's been made very clear, it's a 4% minority quota, it's not about Muslims.
No,
would you like it to be about Muslims? We can then talk about it.
It is only because Muslim is there, and they have the way they portray, they try to please Muslim, and intentionally they try to please just for the sake of vote bank, even though they know that constitutionally this is not possible, first of all. Secondly, even if they do it, they pass this in the assembly, it will be rejected by the
governor.
Law.
All right.
So,
okay, there's also has to go through the governor. Okay. I want to bring in just... Okay, can I get in Mr. Thimayya for a comeback? I'm running out of time. Mr. Thimayya, please answer. Your entire exercise is only to give a backdoor entry to Muslims. Number one, what happened was unprecedented.
But let me
Therefore,
tell you, did the Constitution ever even by mistake say that, you should marginalize a certain community just because you would be seen as, propitiating their need, wants and needs or whatever? But the Constitution is very clear about uplifting every community. But particularly because, in case of Hindus, we have so many castes and communities and so on. But Muslims, because they are a large chunk of one kind of people, if at all the government even tries to help them, there's nothing wrong at all.
But Mr. Thimayya, the charge is... Please, okay, just answer the question. Sir, the charge is by the BJP that this was supposed to be only meant for Muslims. Was it an afterthought to include other communities, or all along you wanted to include all communities?
That we'll have to speak to the leadership. If at all there has been some kind of a mistake in terms of communicating things to people, I think that has to be. I'm sure that even Mr. Islam has in his heart the interest of all communities. I'm sure even the BJP people have. But the way Mr. Nadda speaks, he just wants to you can't speak about the Constitution kind of a thing. It's not at all in favor of the Constitution.
All right. Syed Zafar Islam wanted to come in. Syed Zafar Islam, go ahead, sir, before we go into a break. There
are two things which I would like to highlight. Even Mr. Thimayya, when you pose this question, whether it is for all the communities or it is for the Muslim community, he said he will have to check with the leadership. That is the reason why I'm trying to tell you time and again. They put Muslim community in the dock time and again.
Okay.
And being criticized by everyone.
All right. Okay, sir, you made a point 10 seconds to Mr. Thimayya. Mr. Thimayya, you have 10 seconds to answer that question.
Secondly, that Mr. Rahul Gandhi is advocating that we must follow the Constitution. And even though their own lieutenants are saying that they will change the Constitution.
10 seconds, Mr. Thimayya, I need to go into a break, sir.
Even if it is just for Muslims, Mr. Islam, it is not. I'm telling you, the Constitution's very mandate is to do good for everybody. And if at all Muslims need it, do it. If it's for Hindus,
affirmative
do
action
it.
Affirmative action is important, and that is what being done by the government.
I'm going to go into a quick break because clearly this is going to be a debate which will continue, especially on the floor of the Parliament, because what the opposition has demanded is to move a privilege motion, that they're going to move a privilege motion against Mr. Nadda and Mr. Rijiju.